as we look at these other playoff games, let's start with the big one, and that, of course, is early yesterday with Jacksonville. First off, there's only been 2 other games in the history of the NFL that finished with a 45-42 score. Did you know that? There have only been 3 scores now in the history, not playoffs now, history of the NFL, and both involved the Redskins. One against Arizona in 98, and there was another one. That the final was 45-42. And did you know that Calais Campbell, our little pal, Eddie should be putting a call into him right now from Jacksonville because he would come on because he's a good guy and he's a big fan. If you know the big defensive lineman, but Eddie, the All-Pro, but Eddie has not thought of that. But Campbell last week told Tom Pelissero, he's either of NFL, I don't know if he works at Sirius, wherever he is, but he works at Sirius. Told him, watch the score be, he gave him 2 scores, and one of the scores he gave him was 45-42. So there you have it. So that 45-42 score rang true in Pittsburgh yesterday. You could not, and the bookies cleaned up. They did not clean up in the Saint game, but they certainly cleaned up in the first game. You would have had to be a genius if you took Jacksonville in the points. I mean, to think that Jacksonville would have beaten Pittsburgh in that sequence is almost unfathomable. They were bad against Buffalo. They were bad the week before against Tennessee. The quarterback has been basically, sheltered and very average all season long and beleaguered, to say the least. They had to play a playoff game and barely survived the Bills. You figured that winning in Pittsburgh earlier in the year was going to be a detriment, not the other way around when they beat them 30-9. You would have had to be a savant to think that somehow Pittsburgh or Jackson was going to win in Pittsburgh yesterday. That, to me, is, if you would have gotten that, if you took Jacksonville yesterday with the 7, kudos to you. Because that is I could never have done that in a million years. To use money on Bortles in that spot, to bet money on Bortles there when you figured that the Steelers chomping at the bit, raring to go, looking for a little revenge, psych for the Patriots, would have been hard to fathom if you took the Jags. So I give you credit if you're one of those who did that. That's the first thing. Second thing is, and I've been on this theme for a while, I'm dying to talk to Ira on Wednesday because Ira's been all over me for years. How many times have I sat here the last, whatever it might be, 5-6 years and told you about Tomlin being overrated? How many times? How many times have I sat here for a long time now? I won't say 8 years because he won a Super Bowl in my first year here. He won the Super Bowl when he beat Arizona. But think about it for a second. In the last 5 to 6 years, I have been here every day, and I've said that I think Tomlin, nicest guy in the world, good to the media, is very overrated. He is 2-5 since his last Super Bowl appearance against the Packers. 2-5. He's only won 2 playoff games since. He lost to Denver, he lost to the Ravens, he lost last year to New England, he lost yesterday. He is not good in the postseason. He never beats the Patriots up front one-on-one. Belichick has his number, as you know that day in and day out, and he allows his team to run wild. Now, that might be a hard team to coach because Antonio Brown's a pain in the neck. We saw last year in the Kansas City game when he had the camera in the locker room. Le'Veon Bell is griping about his contract and moaning, talking about the idea we'll see New England in a week. 2 round 2 games back to back, meaning round 2 Patriots, and after we beat round 2 Jacksonville, he's got the safety Sherman talking. I mean, he did a terrible job of buttoning up that. You don't hear the Patriots doing this. He did a terrible job buttoning up that locker room prior to this game. I mean, can you tell your team to keep their mouth shut? Jacksonville's looking for a cause. They're a team with no respect. They can play that angle all they want, and then you feed into it by talking about we're going to beat the Patriots after we get a chance to play them again and all those things. From that perspective, that is just a scenario. 3 games. Philadelphia and the Redskins at 45-42, and then, of course, Arizona. That's it. But from a perspective, and the Redskins, from a perspective of the Steelers, you'd think he'd tell his ball club, guys, don't give them any reason here. Our mouths shut. And then they come out yesterday and they fall behind 21-0. So from what he did, and he's just overrated. He's just not a big time coach. You want to blame it on Todd Haley? Go ahead. It's hard to blame it. I don't care if Roethlisberger doesn't like him. They did score 42 points in the game. But if you want to go blame it on Haley, blame it on Haley. Go do what you want to do. He's this, he's that. Roethlisberger can't stand him. Fourth down, running wide. Whatever you want. Go ahead. Go blame him, if that's what you want to do. I'm going to blame it on the head coach. The head coach loses a lot more games than he should win, that he should have won. He's got 3 Hall of Famers there on offense. Roethlisberger's a Hall of Famer. Antonio Brown, we all know, Hall of Famer. And Le'Veon Bell's the best back in football, and he loses playoff games left and right. I mean, something has to give. He's won 2 playoff games in eons. He beat the Chiefs and he beat the Bengals. Big deal. I mean, my God, Chiefs never won a playoff game. And Cincinnati, Marvin Lewis was 0-7. Those are the 2 playoff games that he's won in the last 6, 7 years. And I understand he won a Super Bowl. But boy, oh boy, to me, he's very overrated. And I have said that. I've been on record as saying that. So now that you guys have jumped ship on it and said, you know what, Dogs happen to be right. He's just not a big-time coach. They should have one more than they have won. I feel I feel sort of the same about McCarthy. Not quite, but he's got Aaron Rodgers sitting there. They should have won more than a Super Bowl too, and they've only been in 1. At least Pittsburgh's been in 2 under Tomlin. Now, as far as the play calling yesterday, I know everybody. My issue is the defense. I know everybody. Let's do the offense first. I know everybody's going to sit there and they're going to talk about the 2 fourth-down plays in which they did not run a sneak. Roethlisberger made sure he told us that he's good with sneaks, 10 of 11 lifetime on 4th and 1 sneaks. But he's going to sit there now and they're going to tell us about the fact that they ran bad 4th-down plays. All right, now, before you get too crazy on that, let's get to a couple things. They scored 2 touchdowns on 4th down. Did you know that? 4th and 11 into the half, touchdown. 4th and 5 when they could have gotten a first down instead, touchdown to Brown. So before you go crazy about what they did not do on 4th down, at least acknowledge the fact that they scored 2 touchdowns on 4th down. Granted, the first one was at the end of the half. There wasn't many other options. But the second one, you could have gotten a first down, and instead he threw the ball in the end zone. A bomb. Touchdown. So keep that in mind. Secondly, before you go crazy on the 4th downs, on the second 4th down, when he threw the ball to his wide receiver, that should have been a penalty on Jacksonville because Boye held the receiver, Schuster, breaking across the middle. And it was obvious to everybody. Fouts said it, Ian said it, the whole world said it. That should have been a hold. They have not called nearly as many holds in the postseason as they have in a regular season. They were told by somebody upstairs in the league office, guys, I don't want to hear griping about the flags. Don't call as many holds. Somebody got that message across. They haven't called them. In that sequence, that was a penalty, and they didn't call it. So before you go crazy on 4th downs, keep an eye on those 3 things. That's important. Secondly, and I'm supporting Tomlin in that scenario and Daly when I don't even like Tomlin. But in this case, I'm going to support him. The second thing I'm going to make this point on is this. The idea now that we are going to yell and scream because Tomlin went onside late in the game, down by 7, and how dare he, blah, 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 worst thing I've ever seen. Everywhere I've heard this morning, buddies, the whole bit, what an idiot. How do you kick an onside kick and what have you? Anybody who sits there and tells you that that is a ridiculous decision is absurd. You want to tell me it's debatable? I'll buy it. I'll buy debatable. But when your defense has been a sieve all day and can't stop anybody, including Bortles, passes, Fournette, guys wide open, their defense was horrendous. When you have that bad a defense in that kind, their defense stinks anyway. But when you have that bad a defense in this kind of game, you cannot scream and yell when the coach decides to try an onside kick. That you can't do. Now when they're and you want to sit there and tell me if you kick off, they start the 25-yard line, that they'll be conservative, they won't let Bortles throw the ball. Well, first off, you don't know that. Secondly, Bortles can run around end and get 7 yards, and that's simple as that. All they need is 1 first down. So the idea that all of a sudden Tomlin, upset the football defensive gods by trying an onside kick is absolutely ridiculous. First, and the other thing you got to remember about onside kicks. Now, this is a disastrous onside kick. But normally, the kicker who kicks an onside kick is not going to kick it 3 yards, hit his own teammate, and get a 5-yard penalty to boot. Normally, the ball's going to go at least 10, 12 yards. And if it goes 10, 12 yards and they recover the Jaguars, they still have the ball at the 43, 44-yard line, which means you still have to get a first down. So, in essence, in that case, if you think about it logically, you really should. I don't care what Bill Cowher said, all right? Bill Cowher, I'm not interested. Or Boomer, who cares? Well, I'm not interested. Bottom line is you give yourself 2 chances with the onside kick. It's about a 10% play. You give yourself 2 chances. You give yourself a chance to get the ball in an onside kick. How many? Listen, Seattle got to a Super Bowl because of an onside kick against Green Bay. You get a chance to get the onside kick, number one. And number two, you could still stop them without getting a first down. And I can understand that the game was 10-3. I can understand if Pittsburgh's defense has got Joe Green, L.C. Greenwood, Fatty Holmes, and Dwight White with Jack Lambert in the middle. I'll buy it. And Andy Russell and Mel Blount, Mike Wagner, name all the guys that all the people who were screaming and yelling about the outside kick never heard of. Boomer doesn't know who Mel Blount is. Never heard of him. Who, what? I know. No, he never know him. If he fell on him, wouldn't know him. Cowher might because he's a Steeler, but Cowher don't know either. So the idea now that we are going to sit there, and I don't like Tomlin. Out. Overrated. First to admit. But I cannot kill him on that. I'll grant you it's debatable. If you want to keep the boo birds away and you don't want to get second guessed and you just want to kick off in that sequence and you want to sit there and, make Jacksonville get a first down from their own 25-yard line and let's see if Bortles can figure out a way to gain 10 yards and then he's going to punt, fine. You can argue that. And if you do it that way with you having 2 timeouts and a 2-minute warning, you got a good chance if all went well to get the ball back with no timeouts and about a minute 30, minute 40 with a chance to tie the game. 1 first down, you lose. Fournette ran for 130 yards and destroyed the Steelers all day long. Destroyed them. Bortles scrambled all night. Destroyed them. Marcus Lee destroyed them. T.J. Yeldon destroyed him. The fullback caught a touchdown pass. The rookie receiver who wasn't drafted set up a touchdown. All in the fourth quarter. They had a 7-point lead, not 3. So they wouldn't have lost if Pittsburgh tied the game up. So I think they would have given Bortles a chance for a completion in that sequence. Knowing that the worst they were going to do, that the best they were going to do anyway, was 3 runs and a punt, and Pittsburgh's got plenty of time, I think they would have let Bortles throw the ball. Because he throws 1 6-yard completion, the game is over. So I don't have a problem with it. I understand it's debatable, but it's not stupid. Not when your defense has allowed 45 points in the game. That I can't sit there and listen to. That I can't. That's not fair. That's not fair. You want to get on Tomlin for, having his team tweeting everything and getting Jacksonville all riled up and having an atrocious defense? 100%. 100%. But I can't get on him for and don't go crazy on 4th downs. The 1 4th down should have been a penalty and an automatic first down. It was a terrible non-call. And 2 4th downs resulted in touchdowns, one of which happened in the 4th quarter where they had time to get a first down and move, and he threw a touchdown pass to Brown. Left side, deep, bomb. So be careful going crazy on the 4th downs. That's not fair either. That's not paying attention to the game properly. Jacksonville was better yesterday. Pittsburgh was not ready to play. Pittsburgh was all juiced up. They thought this was a given game. They had riled the Jaguars up, and their defense is horrendous. That's the problem with Pittsburgh. I can't kill Antonio Brown, although I'd love to. He's great. I can't kill Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger played an heroic football game. He threw 5 touchdown passes. He made a couple of mistakes. Bad interception early in the game, had a fumble. But he played unbelievable. He put 42 points on the board. You can't kill him under any circumstances. And you can't kill Le'Veon Bell, and I'd love to bury him. I'm tired of listening to his act, talking about contracts and Patriots and all that. Le'Veon Bell's the best back in football. He did everything but he did everything but wash the hand out the Gatorade on the sideline. He was that good. So be careful when you evaluate that game. Not ready to play? Tomlin's fault? Yes. Should they have been riling Jacksonville up during the week about how, in fact, this is sort of a JV game before you get a crack at the Patriots? Absolutely. You want to sit there and go crazy about falling behind 21-0 and being flat as a pancake right out of the gate? You betcha. Go right at it. Kill them. 2-5 in the playoffs since he played his last Super Bowl? Go ahead. 100%. I'm with you right on the button. No question. But don't get on him about the fourth downs. Don't get on him on the onside kick. And it's hard to kill Bell, Roethlisberger, and Brown. Kill the defense. And I'll tell you right now, they're going to use this as motivation all week, so there you go. They, having Pittsburgh out of the AFC Championship game, Sean McManus threw his putting green and his putter from his office on Black Rock through the window yesterday. That's the last team he wants. Jacksonville at New England at 3:05 next Sunday. That is a disaster for CBS. That killed the weekend. That killed it. Minnesota Phillies got a little intrigue because of the Vikings win, and the Eagles are the home team, and they got a little karma too. So that's got some intrigue to it. The first game, I got to see more from Jacksonville. 18 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.